It was 7:03 p.m. in Portland, Oregon, kind of evening where the air held the last warmth of summer. Keanu Reeves walked alone through the park, his hands in his jacket pockets, his gaze thoughtful. He had just finished filming and needed the stillness of nature to clear his mind. As he passed an old wooden bench, he noticed a figure slumped forward, head in hands. A man in his late 50s, his clothes worn but clean, his shoulders shaking slightly. Keanu slowed. Most people would walk past, assuming the man was just another stranger lost in his own struggles. But Keanu stopped. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay?" The man looks up, red-rimmed eyes, a face etched with exhaustion. The man hesitated, then shook his head. "Not really." Keanu sits beside him without another word, letting the silence stretch. The man exhaled sharply, as if deciding whether to speak. "I lost my job today," he finally said. "After 23 years. Just like that." Keanu nodded. "That's hard." The simplicity of his response makes the man look at him. Really look at him. "You're Keanu Reeves?" "Yeah. Of course. The one time I fall apart in public, a movie star shows up." Keanu smiled slightly. "Falling apart's allowed. Happens to everyone." The man's name, we learn, is Daniel. He's an electrician. His wife left 2 years ago. His daughter stopped calling. Today was the final straw. Keanu listened. Not the way people do when they're waiting for their turn to speak, but the way people do when they truly care. The sun dips lower. The park empties. But Keanu doesn't move. The sky darkens to a deep indigo as streetlights flicker on, casting long shadows across the park bench. A cool breeze rustles the leaves, but neither man seems to notice. Daniel's voice is rough with emotion as he speaks, his words spilling out like he's been holding them in for years. Keanu didn't interrupt. He let Daniel talk about the factory closing, about the way his boss had called him into the office and slid the severance paperwork across the desk without meeting his eyes. He listened as Daniel described the months of job applications that led nowhere, the savings that had dwindled to nothing, the nights he'd spent sitting in his empty apartment wondering how things had gone so wrong. And then, finally, the dam broke. Daniel admitted he'd been evicted last week. He'd been sleeping in his car, showering at a truck stop, hiding the truth from everyone he knew. When Daniel finished, there was a long silence. Not the uncomfortable kind, but the kind that settles between people when something real has been shared. Keanu shifted slightly, turning to face him fully. "You hungry?" he asked, as if it were the most natural question in the world. Daniel blinked, thrown by the simplicity of it. Yeah, I guess I am." Keanu stood, nodding toward the park's edge. "There's a diner down the street. Let's go." The walk to the diner is quiet, but not heavy. Daniel keeps glancing at Keanu like he's trying to figure out if this is really happening. Keanu doesn't fill the silence with empty chatter. He just walks beside him, hands in his pockets, giving Daniel space to process. The diner is one of those old-fashioned places with cracked vinyl booths and a jukebox in the corner. The waitress, a woman in her 60s with tired eyes and a name tag that reads, Marge, doesn't react to Keanu at all. Just slides 2 menus onto the table and asks if they want coffee. Daniel orders a burger and fries. Keanu gets the same. When the food arrives, Daniel hesitates, staring at the plate like he's forgotten how to eat in front of someone. Keanu picks up his burger and takes a bite, chewing slowly. "Good, right?" he says. And something about the normalcy of it makes Daniel exhale, like he's been holding his breath for hours. The diner's fluorescent lights hum softly as Marge refills their coffee cups. Daniel stirs in sugar, his movements slow, deliberate, like he's trying to anchor himself in the moment. Keanu watches him for a beat before speaking. "Where's your car parked?" Keanu asks. Daniel's shoulders tense. "Couple blocks from here." "Why?" Keanu takes a sip of coffee, his voice calm. "I've got a place not far from here. Guest room's just sitting empty. You're welcome to stay for a while." Daniel's fork clatters against his plate. He stares at Keanu like he's just spoken in another language. "You... what?" Keanu shrugs. It's not a big deal. You need a place to stay. I've got space. Daniel shakes his head, his voice tightening. Man, I appreciate it, but you don't even know me. I could be a serial killer. Keanu almost smiles. You're not. How do you know? Daniel presses. Keanu tilts his head slightly. Serial killers don't usually cry on park benches. Daniel laughs really, laughs for the first time in months. It's a rough sound, but genuine. Daniel wipes his mouth with a napkin, his expression shifting from disbelief to something closer to wary hope. Why are you doing this? Keanu leans back in the booth, considering the question. Because once, a long time ago, someone did something like this for me. He doesn't elaborate, but the weight in his voice tells Daniel everything he needs to know. The crunch of gravel underfoot as Keanu leads Daniel down a winding driveway, lined with tall pines that whisper in the night breeze. At the end stands a modest but well-kept guest cottage, its windows glowing warm against the dark. Daniel stops walking, his duffel bag slipping from his shoulder. You live here? Daniel asks, staring at the main house, a rustic two-story home with a wraparound porch lit by soft golden light. Keanu shakes his head. No, that's where I stay when I'm in town. This is yours for as long as you need it. He nods toward the cottage. Daniel exhales sharply, running a hand through his hair. Man, I can't accept this. Keanu doesn't argue. Instead, he walks to the cottage door, unlocks it, and flips on the lights. The interior is simple but inviting. A leather couch, a small kitchenette, a neatly made bed. A stack of fresh towels sits on the dresser. Daniel lingers in the doorway, his throat working silently. Keanu tosses him the keys. There's groceries in the fridge. Shower's got good water pressure, Wi-Fi passwords on the fridge. He pauses, studying Daniel's face. You don't have to say yes, but it's here if you want it. A long silence, then Daniel's voice, rough with emotion. Why are you really doing this? Keanu leans against the doorframe, arms crossed. Because everyone deserves a safe place to land. Sunlight streams through the cottage windows as Daniel wakes with a start, disoriented. For a moment, he forgets where he is then. It all comes rushing back. The park, the diner, the keys in his hand. He sits up slowly, running his palms over the unfamiliar sheets. Through the window, he sees Keanu splitting firewood shirtless in the backyard. His movements rhythmic, practiced. Daniel watches for a long moment before pulling on his boots and stepping outside. The morning air is crisp, smelling of pine and damp earth. You sleep okay? Keanu asks without turning around, bringing the axe down in one clean motion. Daniel rubs the back of his neck. Better than my car. A beat. Then, you always chop wood at 6 a.m.? Keanu wipes sweat from his brow with his forearm, finally turning to face him. Only when I can't sleep. Daniel notices the dark circles under Keanu's eyes for the first time. Before he can ask, Keanu nods toward the house. Coffee's on. You take yours black, right? Daniel blinks. How'd you? Last night at the diner. You didn't touch the cream. Keanu sets the axe down. Come on, I'll show you how the shower works. As they walk toward the main house, Daniel realizes something startling. For the first time in years, he doesn't feel like a burden. Just a man drinking coffee on a Tuesday morning. 3 days pass. Daniel wakes each morning to find fresh groceries on the cottage porch, eggs, bread, a thermos of coffee still steaming. He hasn't seen Keanu since the wood-chopping morning, though sometimes he hears the rumble of a motorcycle coming and going at odd hours. On the 4th day, restless, he opens the nightstand drawer looking for a pen. Inside, he finds a stack of handwritten pages. The top sheet reads, The Last Stop, Draft 4, Screenplay by Keanu Reeves. Frowning, Daniel flips through the pages. The margins are crammed with notes in black ink, whole scenes crossed out and rewritten. One line jumps out at him. Not every hero wears a cape. Some just show up when it rains. The creak of the front door makes him jump. Keanu stands in the doorway, holding 2 takeout bags. His eyes flick to the scripts in Daniel's hands, but he doesn't react. "Thai food," he says, setting the bags on the table. "You like spicy?" Daniel slowly closes the drawer. "You're working on a movie?" Keanu unwraps the containers with quiet precision. "Trying to." He hands Daniel a fork. It's about a bus driver. Daniel realizes this is Keanu's version of an explanation short. Honest, leaving room for more questions, or none at all. The smell of lemongrass and chili fills the cottage as they eat in comfortable silence. That night, a summer storm rolls in. Daniel lies awake listening to rain hammer the roof when a knock comes at his door. Keanu stands there, soaked, holding a bottle of whiskey. "Can't sleep," he says by way of greeting. Daniel steps aside. They sit at the small kitchen table, drinking from mismatched glasses. Thunder rattles the windows. After a long silence, Keanu speaks, his voice barely audible over the rain. "My sister died when I was 23. Daniel freezes, the whiskey burning his throat. Keanu stares at his glass, turning it slowly. "She was sick for years. Near the end, a nurse let me stay past visiting hours. Just sat with me. Didn't say much." He looks up. "Never got to thank her." The unspoken truth hangs between them. This is why you're here. This is why the cottage exists. Daniel exhales shakily. "My daughter's name is Hannah. She's in Boise. I haven't called her since..." He gestures vaguely at his eviction notice on the counter. Keanu nods like he already knew. "Phones work both ways," he says gently. Then, surprising them both, he adds, "We could drive there tomorrow." Lightning flashes, illuminating the raw hope on Daniel's face. Outside, the storm rages on. The pre-dawn air is cool as Daniel loads his duffel into Keanu's vintage Ford Bronco. He hesitates before shutting the passenger door. "You sure about this?" Keanu adjusts the rearview mirror a small, deliberate motion. "Tank's full," is all he says. They take back roads instead of the highway. For hours, they pass through forgotten towns with boarded-up storefronts and sun-bleached motel signs. At a gas station outside Pendleton, Keanu buys 2 stale donuts and a road atlas. Daniel traces a finger along the route. "We could stop here," he says, pointing to a dot labeled Silver Creek. "Hannah loved horses when she was little." Keanu studies the map. His voice is quiet. "My sister wanted to be a vet." The unspoken invitation hangs between them. Daniel nods. The Bronco turns onto a dirt road not marked on any map. The horse ranch is nearly abandoned, just an old barn and a paddock where 3 geldings stand swatting flies. A woman in her 70s, Maggie, according to her faded overall, squints at them from the porch. "We ain't open for tours," she calls out. Daniel steps forward. "My daughter used to love this place. Hannah Chen? Maybe 8-9 years ago?" Maggie's face softens. She points to a chestnut mare grazing apart from the others. "That's Juniper. Your girl cried when we retired her from trail rides. She looks Daniel up and down." "You her daddy? The one who was always working?" Behind them, Keanu leans against the Bronco, giving them space. Maggie lowers her voice. "She comes back sometimes. Last summer, she left this." She pulls a folded photo from her Poketa teenage Hannah hugging Juniper, dated just 11 months prior. Daniel's hands shake holding it. Keanu appears at his shoulder. "Boise's 2 hours west," he murmurs. "But we could wait here a while." In the golden afternoon light, Daniel watches Juniper nuzzle Maggie's palm. Somewhere in the distance, a screen door slams. The screen door creaks open again, and Daniel's breath catches. A young woman steps onto the porch, early 20s, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun, wearing worn jeans and dusty boots. Hannah. She freezes when she sees him, her coffee mug slipping from her fingers and shattering on the wooden steps. "Dad?" The word hangs in the air like a thunderclap. Daniel takes an involuntary step forward, then stops, unsure. Hannah's eyes flick from him to Keanu, then back again, her expression cycling through shock anger, and something painfully close to hope. Maggie clears her throat. I'll, give y'all some space. She disappears into the house, leaving the three of them standing in the heavy silence. Hannah crosses her arms, her voice trembling. 2 years, no calls, no texts, and now you just show up with... She gestures at Keanu, then does a double take. Wait, are you Keanu freaking Reeves? Keanu offers a small, apologetic smile. Most days, yeah. Hannah lets out a disbelieving laugh, running a hand through her hair. This is surreal. Daniel swallows hard. Han, I wanted to call. I just didn't know what to say. Hannah's expression hardens. How about, I'm sorry, or I messed up, or literally anything. Her voice cracks. I thought you didn't care. Then Keanu speaks, quiet but firm. He drove 8 hours to see you. Hannah glares at him. And who are you? His life coach? Keanu doesn't flinch. Just a guy who knows what it's like to lose people. The tension is shattered by the roar of an engine. A beat-up Chevy pickup skids to a stop in the gravel driveway, kicking up dust. The door swings open, and a burly man in oil-stained coveralls steps out late 50s, salt and pepper beard, a tattoo of a snake coiled around his forearm. He freezes when he sees Keanu. Well, I'll be damned. Keanu's posture stiffens almost imperceptibly. Joe. Joe spits on the ground, his grin not quite reaching his eyes. 10 years, and you finally crawl back to Silver Creek. Coulda called, kid. Hannah frowns. You two know each other? Joe barks a laugh. Know each other? I taught this punk how to change a tire when he was knee-high to a grasshopper. His expression darkens. Before he ditched this town and everyone in it. Keanu's jaw tightens. It wasn't like that. Joe steps closer, his voice dropping. Then what was it like, huh? Your sister dies, and you vanish like a ghost. No goodbye, no nothing. Daniel glances between them, sensing the decades-old hurt simmering beneath the surface. Hannah looks equally stunned, her anger at her father momentarily forgotten. Maggie reappears in the doorway, her hands on her hips. Joseph Michael Grady, you shut your damn mouth. That boy had his reasons. Joe scoffs but doesn't argue. The silence stretches, thick with unspoken history. Finally, Keanu turns to Daniel and Hannah. Maybe we should go. Hannah hesitates, then shakes her head. Number, I think we all need to talk. She looks at her father, her eyes wet. Starting with us. Night falls over Silver Creek. The group gathers around a crackling fire pit behind the ranch house, Daniel and Hannah on one side, Keanu and Joe on the other. The tension between them as thick as the smoke curling into the starry sky. Maggie passes around a bottle of bourbon, her gaze knowing. Hannah breaks the silence first, her voice softer now. So, you grew up here? She nods at Keanu. Keanu stares into the flames. For a while. Joe scoffs, taking a swig from the bottle. His old man ran the auto shop in town. Good mechanic, lousy father. He glances at Keanu. Ain't that right? Keanu's fingers tighten around his own bottle, but his voice stays even. Something like that. Daniel watches his daughter's face as she pieces it together. The famous actor who never talks about his past. The way he stiffens at the mention of family. Hannah leans forward. Is that why you left? Because of your dad? A long pause. Then Keanu exhales sharply, like he's decided to tear off a bandage. I left because after Kim died, I couldn't stay here. Every street, every face-it, all reminded me of her. His voice drops. And, yeah, my old man didn't help. Joe's expression flickers with something like guilt. You should have told me, kid. I would have gone with you. Keanu meets his eyes for the first time. You had a family, Joe. I wasn't gonna drag you into my mess. The fire pops. Hannah wipes her cheeks, her anger at her father momentarily forgotten in the face of Keanu's quiet grief. Daniel clears his throat, his own regrets heavy in his chest. I get it, he murmurs. Running seems easier than facing what you left behind. Hannah turns to him, her eyes glistening. But it's not. The words hang in the air. Raw and true. Maggie tosses another log on the fire, sending sparks spiraling into the dark. Dawn breaks over the ranch, pale gold light spilling across the paddock. Daniel finds Hannah sitting on the fence, watching Juniper graze. He hesitates, then joins her, their shoulders not quite touching. "You were right," he says quietly. "I should have called." Hannah doesn't look at him. "Yeah, you should have." A beat. Then, "But you came." Daniel blinks. "What?" Hannah finally turns to him, her expression softer. "You came all this way, with Keanu freaking Reeves, your wingman." A faint smile tugs at her lips. "That's gotta count for something." Daniel huffs a laugh, rubbing his eyes. "I didn't plan it, he just offered." Hannah studies him. "Why?" Before Daniel can answer, the screen door slams. Keanu and Joe emerge, the tension between them eased, but not gone. Joe scratches his beard, looking at Hannah. "So, you still ride, kid?" Hannah hops off the fence, a spark of her old fire returning. "Hell yeah, I do." Joe nods to the barn. "Juniper could use a run, if you're up for it." Hannah hesitates, then glances at her father. "You sticking around this time?" Daniel's throat tightens. "Yeah, hon, I am." She holds his gaze, then nods. "Good." Turning to Keanu, she adds, "And you? You gonna disappear again?" Keanu looks at Joe, then at the horizon where the sun climbs higher. "Not today," he says quietly. A week later, the Bronco idles in front of the ranch house, packed and ready to go. Daniel hugs Hannah tightly, her face buried in his shoulder. Over her head, he locks eyes with Keanu, who leans against the hood, giving them space. "You better call this time," Hannah mutters into his shirt. Daniel kisses the top of her head. "Every Sunday. And I'll come back next month, help you fix up that apartment over the barn." Hannah pulls back, wiping her eyes. She turns to Keanu, hesitating before offering her hand. "Thanks for bringing him here." Keanu shakes it, then surprises her by pulling a folded napkin from his pocket, just like the one he'd given Daniel days before. "For you," he says. Inside, a sketch of Juniper mid-gallop, Hannah's name scrawled beneath it. Hannah's breath catches. "How did you?" "Saw your drawings in the barn," Keanu admits. "You're good." Joe clears his throat, approaching with a grease-stained toolbox. "For the apartment," he grunts, thrusting it at Daniel. "Decent tools. Don't waste 'em. Underscore." Daniel takes the weighty box, understanding the gesture. "I won't." Joe then turns to Keanu, hands in his pockets. "You know where to find me, if you ever want to. Underscore." Keanu nods. "I know." The engine roars to life. As they pull onto the highway, Daniel glances in the rear-view Hannah and Joe side by side, growing smaller in the distance. Keanu rolls down the window, the wind carrying the scent of hay and gasoline. "Where to?" he asks. Daniel smiles. "Home."